My introduction to ethanol was through Kansas Corn, being at a commodity classic one year and being invited to a meeting to listen to a guy from Missouri that had a canceled check and showed the returns on his investment that he got per bushel. I remember, and that's what intrigued me. He had a return on investment from an ethanol plant. Went to that and seen that and listened to him and went from there, really. Next step for me was I was really enthused, and I went and seen my banker. At the time, Jeff Trumke, and he's our president today yet here at Western Plains Energy, and he was my local banker, and it caught hold with him, and we went forward from there. And that's how it really took off, was him and I just mashing, and it took off. We first went and looked at an ethanol plant and then seen how it worked, and they had some returns off of it. And it was from a fellow corn grower in the northeast part of the state, and we was in Missouri looking at this plant and whatnot. But then we came home and did a little bit of investigation, and we wound up hiring Baalman Service Corp to help us endeavor in what we need to do. And that involved setting up the equity drives and the meetings and the books and all the paraphernalia that we hauled around and put before people, and then forming a board. Jeff and I basically formed the first board members, asking people, interim board and equity drive board. We went from there. It was kind of before the boom there, and it was fairly new, and I don't know, there's some bad misgivings probably back then in the ethanol industry, but there was a lot of good things going on, and we just stalled out here. I think it was over a period of dang near, felt like 2 years here, traveling around the state and talking to people. We was in every metropolitan city. We was even into Colorado. We were registered in Colorado and Kansas. I remember going to meetings and be one person there. And we drove, I don't know how many miles. Through Baalman Service Corp, we recognized we were falling short of where we wanted to raise. And they suggested we register sell securities in the state of South Dakota, because in South Dakota that was pretty well known and it was successful up there more so than down here. And people had returns, had made money. And so that's how we led up to that. We wound up going into South Dakota, and consequently, dang near 25-30% of this plant is owned by South Dakota residents. People were leery of that out here in western Kansas. I think at the time we were going to be the furthest western ethanol plant in the oil industry. We just stalled out, and we bent over backwards. We had to move on and do something different. From having Western Plains Energy, it's been magnificent for this area. It's basically cultivated this community, Main Street around here, and it's well known. We support communities and around here and whatnot. It's been tenfold. I don't know what it's. All our local people or local businesses have benefited, and as well as the local investors. I've benefited selling grain here, and then of course I'm a cattle feeder too, and getting the feedback, the distiller grain. And I remember, we started this plant, and they told us we was going to have to hire this trucking company, and I said, no, we're not. We're going to start our own right here. And that evolved from here, growing with this right in Western Plains Energy. I had trucks and consequently had other investors have trucks, and it's evolved into a lot of farmer feeders have their own trucks hauling feed too now. The grain is sourced probably right around here within 50 to 60 to 80 miles, I'd say. And right today, this plant is got the benefit of Milo. It's one of the western plants, or maybe all plants in the state of Kansas can run on Milo. And right today, that's a huge benefit for us here to compete with our other ethanol plants back east that benefiting from a better basis today than we are if we were on corn. And I'd say we're right on par, to even maybe a little better than a corn plant in the east with Milo. It's been magnificent. It's been a return on my investment significantly. I probably went overboard when we stalled out. ponied up more than I should have. I remember my dad was really worried about it, but it's really worked out for the best, and as well as all the other investors here also. Just like building this new office here, adding on to the old office, and we were originally at 30 million, now we're 50 million, and right here today we sit here and we got a new project we're bringing online that's just the different sieve technology, and we've put as much into that as we did when we originally built the plant back 20 some years ago. It's an amazing thing to watch, and then we've been through some trials too, and well as recently, and we built a digester here that was basically a $60 million flop, and we survived that. And I thought we were goners there for a while after that, but the ethanol industry has a remarkable way of coming around. For us here, you think you're down and out, and then within a year or something, it changes and clicks and comes back around, and I'm ready for that to happen again now with what we got going on today. Well, my wife and our families, we were on the road a lot and traveled around a lot, and I wore out a Suburban or two. I remember changing flat tires in the middle of the night on I-35 between Salina and Wichita one night, and we were gone, and my folks and the farm and just promoting ethanol too after that, and going to Washington D.C. all the times with corn and ethanol, and we're still fighting that fight with the oil lobby and supporting their industry partners, to fight that fight too, and to move ethanol where we can to make that new market. Well, the big thing was the RFS, and then basically outlawing MTBE. That was huge too, and them was all boosted. They were 3 or 4 or 5 years. We made some good money after that, and I'm ready for the next one to come along here. Feels like we're going to rely on a carbon market, and we can't get policy within that space to open up to what road we're going down to. I think everybody's looking at sustainable aviation fuel to propel us down the road, and I'm ready for that to come around too. It was just the impact for me was this plant. I guess my initial investment being all brought back home. I realized me personally, I invested in, at the time I could say today that I'm investing in every ethanol plant in the state of Kansas, trying to be a part of whatever's going on in the state, I felt like, and except for one, I got there in northeast Missouri there. St. Joe's been a dud for me, but and then I was a part of Phillipsburg, and we sold to the Summit, to the oil or wheat guys, but it made me enough money to be able to do that, to keep being involved within the ethanol space with different management techniques and different locations. I felt like that was beneficial for an investment, and it's money that I've made off Western Plains that I've put into these other plants. WPE allowed me to buy more land too, pay off them mortgages and buy land at better value than it is today. And I expanded in feedlots too, and I've gotten out of a couple feedlots and feeding more cattle than I ever have right because of it. I'm getting to been in this about 23, 4 years, and kind of learn about maybe I need to slow down there in that couple of them spaces. But I got a couple boys I've raised through too, and got grandkids, and I've watched this ethanol plant grow, and we've had misgivings here with the board. We've lost a couple board guys over the year, and it's just time does that. And I've watched people come and go within this plant, tribulations, and there's been a lot of good stories too. We've had, there's been, you can see some success that they're proud of here, but it's the way it is. It's been magnificent for our area and for me. Well, I'm just proud of the existence of Western Plains Energy here, and the presence it has here in Northwest Kansas, and people know what it is, and it's here, and it's another market for grain, and I'm proud of that and what it's done for the community.